Hey, listeners, and welcome to the You Are Epic podcast. This is where we honor the people who've helped build not just our industry, but our communities. I'm Angela Hucker, and I am so glad that you're here. So, I'm taking the time to sit down with people who've been in construction for years, people who've been through the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You're going to hear real stories of resilience, growth, and moments that shaped who they are. This podcast is for those that want to learn more from people who've been walking this path for some time, and they're helping to lift up others and quietly making a difference along the way. It's also to show you that your journey matters and your voice matters. And in case you've forgotten, you are epic. Let's get into it. Manji has over 30 years of experience in designing and constructing road, rail, marine, building, and bridge projects in Australia and the UK. His expertise spans concept design, construction delivery, asset maintenance, and decommissioning across various contracting models. Skilled in bridge design, he has worked on steel, concrete, timber, and temporary structures, along with tunnels, retaining walls, and noise barriers. Manji excels in value engineering, sustainability, and innovation, integrating recycled materials and advanced construction techniques. He also mentors industry professionals and fosters collaboration between design and construction teams for efficient, high-quality infrastructure solutions. Okay, so we have got an incredible person with us now, which is Manji, who is a engineer. And thank you so much for being here, Manji. It's awesome to have you be a part of this.
No, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Yeah.
Really excited to talk to you because we've been connecting on LinkedIn and stuff, and you're such a huge supporter of everything that we do on LinkedIn. So really grateful for that. So what we might do just to start out with is maybe hear about how you actually started your career and how you ended up in the industry and how long you've been in the industry as well. I think that's kind of really important to understand all of that.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. There's actually a story. There's always
Oh,
stories.
we love stories.
There's always stories. My dad used to be a builder and he used to also work for a civil engineer. Some days he would come home with photos of sites. I vividly remember one time he brought photos of a crane which had overturned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a crane which had overturned and they were trying to lift it and correct it with another crane, of course.
Yes.
When he brought those photos with him, he also brought the supervising civil engineer with him to home for dinner. That's when I kind of figured out I want to be a civil engineer.
Oh, awesome.
It was an exposure to a civil engineer. It was exposure to a dad who worked for a civil engineer who eventually gave up that job and became a builder himself, but not civil engineering.
Hmm.
He was just a builder. So that was, I suppose, the journey. And
Okay.
then along that journey, I came across other civil engineering consultants who are basically my informal mentors, who to this date do not even know that they were my mentors.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's actually really important, isn't it? Because you actually don't realize who's mentored you along the way until you sort of do a bit of reflecting as well.
Yep. So one of them has unfortunately passed away, and the other one is still alive, and I'm still in contact with all of his kids because his kids are my age.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
And they're all civil engineers, four of them.
Oh, there you go. So it's an
So it's a
engineering team.
family, it's a family of civil engineers, five of
Yeah.
them. So and the dad, the three sons, and the daughter, they're all civil engineers.
Wow. He sounds like he's been
So,
a great role model for a lot of people then.
and he's got his own stories, and I'll share those. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. How long have you
So
been engineering?
30 years to pretty much the day. I
Wow.
started, yeah, 30 years to the day.
Wow. That's awesome. That deserves a celebration clap, that one. That's a long time. Not many people get to
Thank you.
that, can say they can hit that milestone, 30 years doing engineering in a industry that's not an easy industry as well. So,
Yep, it's been a journey. Had lots of awesome experiences. My first 3 years was working for a very, very small consultancy, but the things that I learned in those first 3 years ranged from designing foundations for a house to nuclear power stations and designing, analyzing stuff for nuclear power stations and anything in between.
Wow.
So for a very small consultancy, I thought, wow, that was grounding.
Yeah, big exposure to lots of a variety of things.
A lot of stuff, yes.
Yeah, so you
Yep.
would have, I imagine in your time, you would have worked on some fairly iconic projects as well. What sort of, what sort of projects stick out for you that you've worked on and, or been involved in?
The most iconic one that comes to mind is the Brisbane Gateway Bridge,
Oh, okay, yes. The
the,
duplication,
the duplication. Yep.
yes.
So we did some stuff on there, which was, I would not say groundbreaking from a world perspective, international perspective, but it was certainly groundbreaking for me because I got to do something that I was just not allowed to do in New South Wales,
Okay, and what was that?
and that was halving joints.
Okay,
Halving joints on bridges are just not allowed. They're banned. They're
right.
banned in New South Wales. That subject has had some notoriety,
Okay,
not because the concept is wrong, but because the design has been flawed in the past. The
right.
construction has might have been flawed. And this is one thing I have learned over the years within the industry, that if something goes wrong somewhere, asset owners actually ban that idea in its entirety rather than actually learn the lessons and improve the design or correct the design.
Mm.
They just ban it. And I'm saying, by banning it, you're not actually learning because now you've just taken away all the opportunities for the future people, for the future engineers to learn from those failings.
Yeah,
So whenever that happens, you're taking away an opportunity.
absolutely. I agree with that. So for a layman, could you just walk us through what that technology was or what that was on the Gateway Bridge that you could do for normal people who aren't engineers, understand what that was exactly? Because I think you've said something that's absolute gold there, but it's good to understand what that was exactly.
So halving joint is usually where you have expansion joints and movement. That's where the movement happens on a bridge. A bridge is always going to move due to the environment. It
Mm,
is going to expand, it's going to shrink. And to accommodate all those movements, you have to have joints in the bridge. And because that bridge is very long, it has got
mm,
some really massive expansion joints.
mm,
And because they're really large movement joints, they need a very complex support system. And you also need to have bearings, and the bearings are what actually support the bridge. And those bearings also need to be serviceable, they need to be replaceable in the future.
mm.
Because the bridge might be designed for, in that case, it was designed for 120 years design life, but a provision for 300 years durability.
And so the
And
bearings sit under the bridge to then be able to allow the bridge to slide backwards
yep,
and forwards like that. Yes.
yep.
Yes.
And because those bearings need to be accessible for inspection and replacement, the details of the housing joints played a very important role.
Mm,
And I got an opportunity to design those housing joints using software that was developed by a university in the US. And it wasn't a proprietary software, it was a free software. The fact that I was able to use that software in this application, because we had to use strut and tie method. A strut and tie method is, it's actually very simple in terms of identifying load paths.
mm-hmm,
A- there's a load application and the load has got to be resisted. It's
mm,
simple physics.
yeah.
But the software allowed me to do that multiple times, test multiple load paths with great ease.
Okay.
So that for me was a learning thing, learning to use that software and testing all of those different scenarios and presenting all of those to the client in a way that it is visual.
Mm,
It's basically between red and green. The colors are between, it's like a traffic light system,
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
red, orange, green. Yep.
Yes.
So whenever you got green, it's good. Whenever it's red, it's dangerous.
Yes.
Dangerous to the extent that, hey, pay attention, please.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that's what it was in a nutshell. I kind of felt that I learned a lot there. And to all the young graduates that I meet, I still tell the same story.
Okay.
It has not changed. It has not changed because
Yes.
that was, for me, it was like a perfect situation where I got to do something that was banned. And I can show that as a showcase to say, hey, there is actually no reason to ban it because here's a bridge which is going to be standing for at least 120, and
Mm,
if looked after, maybe 300. If we can design a structure or a halving joint with that sort of design life,
mm,
then why do other clients and agencies ban it?
mm. So do you know what those reasons are why they've banned it?
I believe they've not been designed properly in the past, and that's okay because they use the technology available at the time.
Okay, so it comes back to the technology part.
Correct. Provisioning for bearing replacement, oftentimes materials were very expensive at the time. In the
Yeah.
olden days,
Yes.
materials were more expensive than labor. So they tried to reduce the material quantities.
Ah, okay. Right.
And because they reduced the material quantities and they reduced they tried to make the materials as cheap as possible.
Yes.
So it met the intent at the time, but they did not foresee the problems that might result in the future. 30 or 40 years down the road,
Yeah.
they started experiencing problems. They started experiencing problems, and as soon as they started experiencing those problems, they started banning that technology in its
Right.
entirety, rather than saying, hey, let's look at a different material, let's make the thing heavier, let's make it stronger. They just banned it.
Yes.
There was just a blanket ban. And there's many of those technologies which have been banned. The other one that comes to mind is grouted post-tensioning. So they've had plenty of issues in the past with some bridges, especially in the UK, with the de-icing salts, issues in the US as well, where they do use de-icing salts. The grouting has not happened 100%. There have
Right.
been some issues either during construction or they just did not know that the grout hadn't made it along the full length of the ducts.
Okay. Yes.
And because the ducts are going up and down the bridge,
Yes.
voids often got trapped,
Mm,
and those voids started making space for water
mm.
to get into the strand, and the water is chloride laden, with the
Yes.
salts,
Yes.
and salt and metal does not go well together.
It does not go well. No. No.
No,
So that's where deterioration starts then.
correct. And as soon as the deterioration started, strands started breaking and started compromising safety of the bridge.
Wow.
And yep, and some bridges actually got closed
Oh,
entirely.
wow.
They got
Okay.
closed. They got shut down like within 20, 30 years of being built, they got closed. And these are not small structures, these are massive structures. And the same thing is happening in a lot of very large suspension bridges, where there is a lot of cables which are grouted
Hmm.
and either grouted or filled up with oil or wax. And if that hasn't happened properly in its entirety, then it leaves space for a
Hmm.
vulnerability.
Well, it's like anything. If you've got those air pockets or bubbles anywhere, like it just allows
Yep.
for other things to get in to fill those air pockets and those voids. And then that's when, you look at rocks over the years, and all it takes is just that constant drip, 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 and
Yep.
then it creates a thing, and then a whole structure can break away. So,
Yep.
bridges and structures are no different, really, are they? So.
No, no.
So, like with that, I kind of see that is that it's there's a bit of a short term, like bridges that are designed for a long period. So the Gateway Bridge designed for 120 years, but some of these bridges where they've got the design, but then it comes back to cost. So when there's a cost element that comes into play, that's where shortcuts might be taken, I guess you could say, or things are done to actually help put it within a budget. And just, from what you've kind of explained there, how I can kind of, in my own words, to say it, is that it's kind of the short-term gain of meeting a budget rather than the long-term solution of meeting a design. And that seems to be, from my experience in the industry, like a bit of a common theme that it's always the short term rather than the long term runway of what's needed. And I'm just wondering, with your experience of what you've seen, is there any other parts in the industry that you've seen, similar things happening where, the short term, there's a lot more focus on the short term solution rather than the long term gain?
Absolutely, absolutely. So oftentimes in the industry, decisions are made by people who are not in the industry. Those decisions are made to serve a completely different purpose. However, those decision makers impact the industry greatly,
Absolutely.
massively, in a very negative way, unfortunately. And we can't tell them. We can't tell those decision makers, hey, what you're doing is actually wrong, because they're the people who hold the purse strings.
Yeah, that's right.
This is something I have found often, that as engineers, we are obligated, we have got an obligation to serve society. That's what civil means.
Civil, exactly. Civil service.
And as engineers, we are obviously, look at the origins of the word engineer. We find ingenious solutions.
And that's what engineer means.
Yep,
And is that Latin?
it comes from Latin.
Latin,
Ingen
yes.
Yep, it comes from Latin, from my understanding. Yes. If we are producing an asset that is supposed to serve society,
Yes.
we should be looking at the long-term implications of the asset to the society.
Yes.
And that society could be nature, could be people, could be animals, flora, fauna, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the equation. You cannot just say we're only going to look at one piece
No.
and ignore the rest.
Mm.
Because if you look at the original institution of civil engineers, I think I'm getting my words wrong here, and I'll admit to that. It took advantage of nature to harness nature to benefit humankind.
Yes. I understand what you're saying. Yes.
And that was okay in those days when it was that institution of civil engineers was actually started, whenever that was in the 1800s or 1700s. And that was okay because they did not know the long-term implications of
Mm.
taking all the material out of nature and putting it into society to benefit society.
Mm. Yes.
But 200 years later, I think they've changed that wording now.
Well, it's the whole
And
ecosystem, isn't it?
the
Like,
whole
to
ecosystem,
point. Yeah,
correct.
it's the whole ecosystem. It's not just humans, it's humans and animals and plants. And, that's why we have environmentalists and, people who look at all of that sort of stuff about how is this actually going to impact our environment as well. So,
Yep, it is an ecosystem. And if engineers actually recognize that whatever they do has got an implication on many other facets of
mm,
nature, and I kind of feel that we are just part of nature. We do
yes,
not control nature. We are part of nature.
that's right.
I kind of feel that as human beings, we have recognized a lot of stuff along the way, and people are learning, and people learn often through failure. And we have seen where we have done the wrong things to nature,
Mm.
and we are learning through that. And that's okay. That's part of the process.
Well, that's part of living, isn't it? Like, we're not
Yep.
given a
It's
rule
growing.
book and a
Yes.
guidebook as to how to actually
No?
do things. And it's only through the learnings, and, to the point that you said earlier, the opportunities. So if we loop back to your point that you said before about with the design of bridges as an example, where it was actually banned, but it's actually missing out on an opportunity to learn from those mistakes and how to improve it and make it better. What sort of recommendations would you have? Because it's not just obviously design, it's everything, as you're saying, like to your point about, everything, the interaction with nature, and we're just part of that. What are some opportunities that you've identified in your time that, would actually help make things better from learning from our mistakes, I guess you could say? What things have you come across where there's like, oh, that would be a great opportunity to improve that and refine it and make it better?
I think there is a lot of opportunities, and I would like to maybe unpack that and look at all the failures that have happened in the past
Mm,
and dig deeper to find the root cause
yeah.
analysis.
Yes.
Do a deep dive in the root cause analysis. There is a few champions out there who do that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they share all of those learnings from the past. And I do forget a name. He's got podcasts out there, learning from past failures, and he's a forensic scientist.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
yep. So he does all of that research. He does go down rabbit holes that are definitely worth going down. And a lot of learnings are coming out. You look at
Mm,
the Apollo 13, you look at the Apollo 13, the learnings out of that. You look at Chernobyl, you look at every disaster that has happened. There's
yeah,
lots of learnings.
correct.
And there have been improvements. There have been improvements, and people are learning. In as much as we don't want these failures to happen, sometimes those failures are actually necessary for us to learn.
Is there one that like really jumps out for you that, either has happened in your time or one even happening now that's kind of like there's something that's, even with to your point of what you said before, like a lot of the decision makers who don't come from the industry, but they hold the purse strings, is there a learning there? Something that's really sticking out for you that's this is an opportunity where people can learn.
Absolutely, yes, I believe so. One of the things that is really jumping, and this is close to heart, is you look at the number of people in the construction industry who die from suicide, and you go and do a root cause analysis of that.
Yeah,
Why are we still letting it happen? How can we afford to lose a person every 2 days?
I know. It breaks my heart.
If we go and do a deep dive in that one, we'll find a lot of answers.
And what do you think some of those answers are? Like what some of the root cause might be?
It's a stress. It's a stress.
Stress. Yeah.
It's a stress. It's a workplace stress. And oftentimes it is young people with young families.
Mm,
There's a lot of stress being put on people to deliver projects to a certain timeline, a timeline which does not make sense,
yeah.
a timeline which is absolutely fictitious because somebody has to cut a ribbon on a certain day.
Mm,
And because we've been given those timelines, and those timelines have been created by others before us, and those others have never delivered actual projects,
mm,
and they've also set a budget. And now the delivery people at the front end are tasked to deliver a project to a given time and a given budget and a high quality. We can't get all three.
no.
So what happens is oftentimes safety and quality are the victims. And whenever safety becomes a victim, you lose a person by accident. When quality becomes a victim, then human beings are very adept, adept at understanding what's going on. Now,
Mm,
they've got very good intentions. Nobody is actually born a bad person.
no.
Everybody's born with good intentions and everybody wants to do a good job coming to site.
Mm,
But if you take shortcuts, if you feel you have to take shortcuts to deliver a project, guilt sets in. Guilt sets in. You can't live with that guilt. And that is what drives people often to an outcome that impacts way more people than themselves.
yeah. And do you think that happens at a deeper level, like at more of a subconscious level than a
It does.
conscious level? Yeah.
Absolutely. It does because I think it is at a very deep level, and we do not do enough reflection to understand ourselves and
Yes.
to understand our emotions. And the industry is really about tough people. You need to be tough. you need to man up
Yeah.
and you cannot let your emotions. We're often told growing up, kids, especially boys who grow up,
Mm.
man up,
Yeah.
men don't cry.
Yeah.
I was taught the same thing. Men don't cry.
Yeah.
Hang on. Which rule book says men don't cry?
And why can't men be allowed to cry as well? Like it's a human
Uh,
emotion.
it's a human emotion. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's nothing to do with men or women.
No.
It's nothing to
Like,
do with males or females.
yes, that's right. And so how is that, potentially impacted you through your career as well? Like man up and, men don't cry and, that kind of
You
belief
need to toughen
system
up.
being put
Yep.
into you. How has that had an impact on you?
I saw a lot of bad behaviors, not just on site, in offices as well, where men and women in the construction industry
Yeah.
shout at others.
Yes.
They shout orders at others. And when you observe that behavior, and I have observed this behavior,
Mm.
you say, what the hell just went on here?
Mm.
What just happened here?
Mm.
And you step back and you look at the reasons. You do a deep dive, and I am one of those who does deep dives,
Yeah.
and I like to joining dots in terms of why is that person behaving the way they are? Where are they from? What is their background?
Mm.
What has been their past experience? And you can often find the answers.
You're seeking to understand the person rather than to react to the person.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. But sometimes, as human beings, when we are asked to respond without being given the time to respond, oftentimes you may make a mistake. Oftentimes you will respond in the wrong manner. And I think all humans are are actually susceptible to that.
Mm.
Oftentimes we are put on a spot to provide a response rather than saying, hey, can I take that away and I'll come back to you later.
Mm.
So we do not do a step back. We are often reacting on the spot. It's in the moment. We are reacting in the moment rather than if we tell everyone that, hey, can I check back? Can I step back and I'll get back to you in 2 days? It's too late by then.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, it's too
Yeah.
late. So those instant decisions and instant reactions and responses that people have to, I suppose, put themselves in a position are actually very painful.
Yeah. I can see it. It's kind of a bit of a circular loop, actually, because you've got these projects that are set with budgets and schedules, which are unrealistic. Then you've got people, like thumping their hands on the table and not speaking respectfully and demanding information. You're not given the time to reflect and, actually understand where that person's coming from and you react. It then puts pressure on because you've got this schedule and this budget that you've got to meet. And it's just like this whole vicious cycle of what's going on,
Yep,
purely to meet a timeline and a budget, but not actually arming people with the tools and the skills of actually just taking a moment, reflect, seek to understand rather than seeking to react. And not creating that pressure cooker essentially where people are stressed.
yep, totally agree.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you help a lot of, younger engineers and things like that coming through the ranks, which is awesome. For people who are sort of coming into the industry and like, whether it's young engineers or whatever their role is, like people entering the industry, because obviously the industry, it has its challenges as, you've identified and stuff as well. What kind of advice, or knowledge would you like to impart to be able to, like some good points? Because the industry is not all bad. Like,
Oh,
you wouldn't
that's
have
great,
lasted
people.
as long as you had if it was if it was all bad. But, there's
No, no,
obviously some good points and, things that might be able to help people as well.
yep, great question. This is something that I share with all the young people, or for that matter, anyone I meet. Have friends.
Mm.
Have friends who are a generation or two older than you, and have friends who are generation or two younger than you,
Mm. Great advice.
and become a sponge. a sponge that learns from the newer generation and also learns from the older generation. And you become the sponge who is sucking up from one generation, learning from it, and you squeeze out that sponge to another generation. You become like a medium. You become like a knowledge sharing medium,
Yeah. Yeah.
both upstream and downstream.
Yeah.
And I'm learning from both of them, and everybody's learning here. All three generations and all six generations, three, four, or five generations are learning.
Yeah. Well, we've all got
Now,
something we can learn off someone else, haven't we?
absolutely. Why should I have to learn from my own failings if I can learn from somebody else's failings?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I know it is actually hard. It's hard because we all say that, hey, I'm not going to fail like the other person, but guess what? We keep doing it.
Yes.
How oftentimes have I heard that, hey, a mistake that another project did or another engineer made, I ain't going to make. And we make the same mistake in the construction industry. It's so rife. We see the same mistakes happening over and over and over and over again. And that's because
Yeah.
knowledge sharing is not happening. It's that
No.
knowledge share which is missing.
Yeah.
And transparent, open and transparent knowledge share is missing. We celebrate successes, we reward successes, but we do not reward knowledge share of failures
Or even learnings, like
or learnings.
acknowledging the learnings, like what's the learnings
Yep,
that you've got out of this, because that's how you can make changes, make it better, improve it. And this is where innovation comes in as well, because if you can actually see, oh, that didn't work, what can we do to tweak it? And that's where new inventions and creations and ideas and solutions come in that can be game changing.
yep, absolutely. I kind of feel that because of that lack of transparency
Mm.
of sharing failures, we are missing out a lot. We're missing out on society's goodwill. The society has got a lot of solutions to the problems. And I always go back and say, go to the coal face.
Yeah,
Go to the coal face and speak to the people who are facing the problems. They have the solutions.
absolutely. Well, the thing is, it's like, people who are at the coal face are actually dealing with what's happening in the moment right there. And for someone who may not be in that environment to go, we need to do this, we need to do that, but they're not actually there to know if it's actually going to work or not, talk to the people who are there because they're the ones, whether it's designing the thing, building the thing, putting the thing together, whatever that is, they can actually come up with the innovation and the solutions to go, oh, if we change this or if we did that, that would actually make it quicker, better, faster, more efficient, whatever it may be, because they're doing it. They understand it.
Yeah, oftentimes I have seen this where leaders basically tell their teams what to do without actually asking the team what the solutions are.
Yeah.
Leaders feel that they have elevated themselves to a position where they need to know it all and they should have all the answers. And I'm saying, actually, you should not know it all.
No.
If you do believe that you know it all, then sorry, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you feel that you have all the answers and that you can tell others what to do without actually asking the others,
Mm.
then we've got a problem on our hands with leadership.
Mm. And to me, that's leadership is you actually, part of being a good leader is you actually hire the people who are the experts and
Yep,
tap into their knowledge because they're the experts. Good leaders have the experts around them to get the knowledge because that's what's going to help make them a
yep,
good leader. Because then they can tap into all the different bits of knowledge. There was something I heard, like about Henry Ford, and he was being questioned about, you know, all these bits and pieces of stuff. And he said, well, I can just press any button and I can get access to any person who'll be able to answer that question for you. I don't need to know that. If you want to ask me about cars, I can answer that, but I don't need to answer that question because that's why I have experts who can answer those questions for you. That's not my job. I'm not here to know everything. I've got experts who specialize in that. So and that's what leadership's about. And is that something that you see is lacking at the moment? The good leadership?
I would not say it's lacking in its entirety. I would suggest that leaders maybe need a slightly different approach or take a different approach.
Hmm.
I think the leaders are actually well intentioned. The intentions are right. It's the incentive schemes, it's the benefits, it's the reward structures
Mm,
and the frameworks that we put around leaders and people that gets us the wrong behaviors and the wrong actions. The financial reward systems that we have, they have obviously been developed over the years.
mm,
And yes, there is good reasons for it. It's those benefits that people get. People's responses will depend on those benefits and
mm.
those rewards.
Yeah.
If you want to change people's behaviors, you need to change those incentive structures.
Yes.
If we are not going to change those reward systems, then nothing is going to change.
Mm. They're coming from a different position then. They're coming from something that's linked to a financial incentive rather than a human perspective.
Yep. So if we were to reward people on safety outcomes, reward people on human well-being outcomes,
Mm-mm.
environmental outcomes, there's any number of things. We could actually change the structures. Human happiness.
Yes.
This is one thing that I never understood. A country like Brunei has got a happiness index. We do have a happiness index now, a world happiness index now. Was it Brunei or was it Nepal? I don't. It was one of them countries, which was one of the first in the country, sorry, in the world to measure human happiness.
Okay. Yes.
And I thought, if a small country like that
Yeah.
and not as developed has tapped into that human emotion,
Mm.
how can the developed world say that they are actually advanced? Advanced in what perspective?
Yeah.
The reasons why humans exist is happiness.
Yeah.
We're always seeking happiness. It's one of the things, it's a fundamental human right, human need, and a want.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And it's so important because things like that, if people were actually happy going to work, people were happy, particularly in construction, there's a lot of projects, which are regional and rural and has a high population of people who do fly in, fly out work or, just work in those areas
Mm,
where they're away from their homes and their families. And if people were happy, the productivity would probably increase, the employee engagement would increase, the suicides would decrease, the mental health would improve because of one
mm.
fundamental thing of being happy.
Absolutely. You solve one thing and there is so many knock-on benefits. We need to look at a whole of life outcome. Don't look at just the short term. Look
Mm,
at the long term, the foreseeable. Now we can't foresee every thing in the future, but I think we've been around the sun enough times to actually learn the lessons from somebody else.
yeah,
Why are we not tapping into those past learnings and predicting the future? That's what AI is doing, right? Right now. AI is learning from historical data to predict the future.
yes.
Sorry, I actually disagree with the word AI because there's nothing artificial about it and there's nothing intelligent about it.
What would you like to hear it called?
It's just learnings,
Learnings. Yeah,
just learning from history. The sad bit for me with the AI stuff is that rubbish in, rubbish out.
yeah,
There's so much fake stuff up there. There's so much fake news out there that the AI tools are actually learning from. Really? We are giving them that fake stuff and it will only throw out some fake stuff back and we
yeah,
will start believing it. And that's what I actually fear. That's one of my deep fears that humans will not actually understand the difference between the good and the bad that is coming out, and we will start believing the AI
yeah.
tools that are being created.
Yeah, and there's a lot of uncertainty with it as well. Just information and,
Yeah,
like you said, the quality of information, how true it is, especially now you've got the AI twins and avatars and things like that as
yep.
well. Are you actually looking at a real thing of someone talking or is it an AI twin, for
A deep
example.
fake.
So
Is it
yeah,
a deep fake? Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So unfortunately, a lot of these tools are being used for the wrong purposes, and engineering is susceptible as well.
Hmm. In what ways?
Um, I think it is a lot of other aspects of life. The other day, somebody asked me a question, and I said, and their response was, "Oh, I Googled this question and I got an answer." And how do you? And I said, "How do you know that answer is right? How do you know that answer is right? Because there's so much stuff out there. Now, if you haven't got a grounding in engineering principles and you go straight to Google and ask them a question and you don't know the difference between right and wrong, and you're going to start believing whatever answers Google gave you,
Yeah,
then we've got a problem.
yeah.
You need to have fundamental ground up principles.
Well, it's always just checking your facts, isn't it? So, it's
Just
the
checking
same
your
as,
facts. Yes.
yeah, like with engineering and you're designing something, you don't just build something and go, no, that's okay. Like you've got the software to be able to check your traffic light system. Is that something that's going to work? Is it red? Is it green? Is it yellow? It's that sort of quality check, I guess you could say.
Yep, I do have a little bit of a concern with where software has taken us, and the education system today in the universities. We are teaching kids using software, and they do not know how to do very simple calculations, and they're
Mm,
relying on the computers to do all the calculations. And you know, and every time, not every time, sometimes I ask young engineers, how did you get this answer? And they said, well, the software told me this. And I said, what inputs did you give the software? Oh, I just use this, this, and this. And I said, okay, but have you actually checked the answer? Does this
mm,
answer make sense? And I would do a very quick hand calculation, or just in the back of my mind, I'll do a calculation, and I said, this does not make sense. And they get scared.
mm.
They get scared. How did I know that answer in the space of 5 seconds when they've been working on something for like weeks?
Yeah, yeah,
And the fundamental difference is that if you know engineering principles from the ground up, then you can solve any problem. And if you're relying on another tool to solve those problems, then you are potentially limiting yourself to being just a machine operator.
yeah. How could that relate to life as well? Like
Um,
understanding things from the ground up, because it comes back to this root cause as well, doesn't it? Like you need to actually understand at a deeper level.
when it comes to life and nature, just look at nature. Nature has provided us all the answers.
Yeah, yeah.
Biophilic design. Biophilic design is a subject that really intrigues and interests me. And I look at, say, a place like Singapore. Look at Singapore and what ecosystem they've created. They
Mm,
are actually learning. They are actually learning from nature, and they are applying those natural principles in their designs.
mm,
Nature has given us all the answers that we could think of,
mm.
but we do not seem to be learning from it because as human beings, we think that we are the most intelligent species. Well, I'd like to maybe pop that bubble and say we are not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We are
I
we
agree.
are part of that nature. It's our pride and ego that is actually taking us in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree with you because I look at what is formed in nature, like mountains and rivers and creeks and cliffs and trees and all these incredible places and structures and things. Just, like I look at some of this stuff here in Tasmania and like there's rocks or boulders really just kind of sitting on top of these structures. And I kind of look at it and go, how did you actually get
How?
there? Yeah, like
How?
how? How did you get there? It's just incredible. And, I agree there's definitely a big part of it and a big key is understanding how nature works and how that can be applied to for us as humans as well. So
I look at humans as just once as a speck,
yeah,
in the big cosmos. Cosmos is massive. It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time, and nature is very slow in evolving, adapting, and humans are also actually very slow at adapting.
Yeah.
Their DNA, which is part of the ecosystem, is actually very slow at adapting to the changes that are happening in real life.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, as human beings, we have been conditioned to speed things up. You can't speed up nature.
No. No, that's
You
exactly
can't.
right.
You can't speed up nature, and we are trying to really run before we can walk. I think we actually need to slow down.
And how do you, what's some ideas you've got to be able to slow down?
I think everybody should just have this reflection moment. It's
I
having that
agree.
reflection moment, slow down, slow your pace down, slow the projects down, slow everything down. We can't change time. Time is just a human construct,
Mm.
as far as I'm concerned, because who needed time
Yeah.
in the past? I look at ancient cultures. Ancient cultures have got so much to teach us. And a lot of those learnings are now coming. Learning from those ancient cultures, deep, meaningful conversations, which are all related to our own spiritual journey.
Mm.
Whether you're religious or not, spiritual has got nothing to do with religion.
No.
People kind of get confused between religion and spiritual
Yes,
experience. And even the spiritual experience at the end of the day is an energy experience.
it is.
And I know a lot of research is being done along those lines about that human experience and how energy is at the end of the day physics. That spiritual journey and the science journey is now, it used to be on the divergent
Yeah.
path. Now I think it is coming back into a convergent. They're now converging, I think. Now they're starting to understand each other. And then
Yes.
now they're saying, okay, let's learn from each other. And to me, that's a good thing.
Well, and the whole thing is that there's, by looking at other things and learning rather than just being stuck on one thing, that's how you get different perspectives, different ideas, different solutions, and, how you can actually get it all together as well and go, oh,
Mm,
for me, it's like look at other industries. What are other industries doing that can be applied, to help make the construction industry better, for example, because you
mm,
can learn from others.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we just need to open our eyes.
Exactly.
We just need to not even open it. I think there was a book somebody's wrote, change your eyes, not even change your lenses, change
Yeah.
your eyes
Yes.
and walk in other people's shoes.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
If we don't walk in other people's shoes, we'll never learn.
No. No.
Yes, those other people's shoes might be smaller, they might be bigger, but hey, that's the experience you need to have.
Exactly. Exactly. So as a bit of a closing, what would you like to say is, like a closing statement, comment, sentence, phrase, that you could share as a bit of a closing wisdom for people?
Life is a roller coaster. It's got valleys and it's got mountaintops. Whether we go downhill now to face an uphill later, or
Mm.
we go uphill now to enjoy the downhill later.
Yeah.
Either way is still an up and down journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
But going uphill at the start of a career is an investment. Whereas a downhill journey now might sound like fun, but you still have to do the uphill
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
The question is, do you want to have the fun now or do you want to have the fun later?
Yes.
I look at an uphill as an investment. Invest in yourselves.
Yes.
Invest in yourselves, educate yourselves, learn from others, and that investment is going to pay off 5, 10 times down the road.
Yeah. I love it. And it's so valuable because it's when you invest in yourself, like you're going to get the return on the investment at some point.
At some point you will.
Mm,
It never fails. It never
no.
fails you.
Mm,
Oftentimes we look at things as costs, and education, people look at it as a cost. Training is a cost. Um, I never look at it as a cost. It's an investment.
yeah. Yeah.
Give people the time to go and learn something new and train them up. Give them the space to think. Give them the space to innovate. Give them the space to fail.
Mm,
If you give people all those opportunities at the start of their career, the industry will be getting the dividends.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's always about the industry. I've never said that it's for me or it's for my company, or it's never come from a space of protecting knowledge. I have trained engineers from other organizations, more engineers from other organizations than the organizations that I've worked for, simply because of the way the projects were structured. And I still keep in touch with all of those young engineers.
Yeah.
Maybe not so young anymore, but hey, still have the coffees and lunches with them, even if they have moved on. And for the younger engineers, I also encourage them to get out. And I give them my personal experience. I moved away from an organization after being there for 16 years. I left that organization to pursue a couple of other opportunities that came my way, and I got off my comfort zone.
Mm,
Get off your comfort zone.
yes.
And in the 5.5 years, 5.5, yeah, about 5.5, 6 years that I was away, I learned more in those 6 years about
Yeah.
non-engineering stuff than I did in the 16 in engineering.
Yeah.
So I used to put my hand up to do all sorts of stuff: coaching, mentoring, R&D, sustainability, innovation, women in engineering, diversity and inclusion, returned service soldiers, working with criminals,
Yes.
working with refugees and migrants. The stuff that I learned, as I said, in those 6 years, it just blew my mind away.
Yes. Well, growth happens when you're outside of your comfort zone. And that's where you learn a lot more about yourself when you're actually stepping outside and having all those experiences.
Yep, absolutely. And now I'm back. I'm actually back at the first company that I left.
Oh, there you go.
And I bring a completely different perspective,
Yeah, nice.
a different perspective that people in that organization may not actually see it because they're in it.
Yes.
And this is oftentimes what happens as human beings. We get comfortable in our lane.
Yes.
We become very focused in that one lane without
Mm,
realizing who else is swimming in that ocean.
correct.
Another friend who said, I want to stay in my lane. And I'm saying, why?
Yeah.
What lane?
Yeah.
You are defining your lane. Your lane is the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
You define your lane.
Yes.
It's your journey. You
That's
can't
right.
say, oh, somebody else has defined it for you, so you are going to stay in that lane. Well, sorry, you're going to fail as a result of that. Yeah, and you're not going to be happy.
No, no.
But you do need to be authentic. You need to be true to yourself.
Well, there's a saying that, we are all the authors of our own book. So it's up to
Write
us
your,
what story we want to write in it.
yes,
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Manji. I really appreciate all the wisdom and everything that you've shared. And it's so lovely to connect with such a kind, authentic person who comes from a place of service, not from a place of ego and arrogance and publicity, but just from a place of service of wanting to help uplift others. So thank you for being that person, and thank you for being being a guiding light for so many others that no doubt you've had a big impact for so many other people as well with your young engineers and everyone who you've been a mentor to them on the way as well. So thank you for being one of those people sharing your knowledge. Really appreciate it.
the pleasure was all mine. And thank you for this space. And thank you for those insightful questions. And for me, it's about sharing stories. And let's
No
keep
worries.
sharing the stories.
We will. All right. I'm going to hit
Thank you.
stop. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope this conversation gave you something that you can take with you. whether it be a little bit of insight, inspiration, or maybe just a reminder that you're not alone. If it resonated with you, please share because we're better when we help build each other up. And remember that your experience, your story, and your journey, it all matters more than you know. Until next time, stay kind, stay connected, and never forget you are epic.